moving on to our next segment here, we're going to do another cannabis review here. This week, I've got some pre rolls by Namaste. It's a 24 karat gold strain. Now, you're probably wondering what the fuck's a 24 karat gold strain? Well, it's crossing a kosher kush, which is primarily an indica, with a popular sativa dominant tangy. And I'm a huge, huge fan of all tangies in terms of sativas, but right now we're looking at it's about 15.8% THC. Sorry, the it's all white there. My lighting's not helping the view here, but pretty cool too that it comes in, unlike last week's where it came in a really fancy glass tube. But I I had some edibles last night. I usually have this segment a little further in, but I had some edibles last night, and I've been refraining from smoking today to get the true gist of what 24 karat gold can do here. So I moved this segment up a little bit so I could smoke quicker because I don't know if you people have ever taken any edibles or anything like that, but sometimes it can leave you feeling dried out and a little hung over the next day. So, and you know what they say takes away hangovers. It's more hair of the dog. So, but we also want to talk about, while we're doing this review, we're going to talk about a couple cannabis related issues. And one that's kind of come up as of recent is an athlete by the name of Shakari Richardson. She's an American runner that has actually been disqualified from participating in the Olympics because of cannabis use. She tested positive for using cannabis, and there's a big public outcry saying that it's wrong, it's not fair, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So while I spark this up, Mike, if you want to share some of your thoughts before I kind of get into some of mine.
So I I did a little bit of looking up, and because you had told me about this, and I was kind of confused. I thought it was something else I'd heard in the news. But as I'm talking with my wife, I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. They took the medal away from her. And then I was like, wait a minute, because I was in the middle of smoking weed, and then I was like, the Olympics haven't even fucking started. She hasn't had her medal taken away, and and then I'm like, well, what the fuck? It's just her getting on the team. Like who the fuck's that? Like, I feel bad saying this, but sorry, not sorry. That's where I'm gonna go. But like, she's just getting on the fucking team. It's not her losing her fucking medal. Like, it was a decision she made. Like, she knew the decision when she made it. Like, I don't know. It's like there's a lot of people that don't make the fucking team. Like, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, they're gonna Ross Ripliotti this shit, like they're gonna give her her medal even though she smoked a little bit of weed or something. And then I was like, like the Olympics haven't even started yet. This is in the news. This is important. But yeah.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from it, so to give context to the story more for those who don't know. So, Shakari Richardson lost her mother about a month ago, I want to say, give or take. Don't quote me on the time frame, but regardless, it was just a few weeks ago to which she lost her mother, which is an awful, awful, awful thing. And she used cannabis as a way to kind of cope with what was going on at the time. And that is a perfectly fine thing to do. She did it in a state where it was legal. She did nothing illegal on the law side of things. When it comes to Olympic qualifying and the IOC rules and stuff like that, while it may be an antiquated rule, while it may be a very dumb rule, while it may be a rule that should change, it's a fucking rule. Are we really going to excuse the fact that an Olympic athlete that knows exactly what it takes to get to the dance, that knows what the rules are, that knows that substances, what's allowed and what's not allowed, can we really just give a pass because of her circumstances on that day? It's like, oh, you know what? Totally understand. Your mom passed, you used it to cope. You know what? We'll make an exception for you. No problem. No, I'm sorry. That's not how the world works. I know how that's how a lot of people want the world to work, but that's not how the world works. That's like me being a cannabis manager, knowing damn well that I can't smoke cannabis before going into work. And then I have a bad day. Let's use when Cooper passed as an example. And I used cannabis as a mechanism to cope, but then went to work. Now, if they see me high, they're going to send me home or discipline me or fire me, because that is a big no-no. You can't do that. And I can't just expect them to give me forgiveness and to look past a rule that's set in place because of my circumstance in the background. And I think that's the plot that people are losing on this. I know some people are making it racial and stuff like that too. And I'm sorry to say, this ain't it. That's not the fight. This ain't the fight to make it racial. It's not racial. It has nothing to do with it. The fact remains is that she is an Olympic athlete that got caught with a substance in her that's against IOC rules, for better or for worse, and there's consequences to that. I'm sorry. There just is. So I don't feel bad for her. I don't feel bad for her at all. I feel bad for her that she lost her mom. I feel bad that she lost someone near and dear and close to her, but I don't feel bad that she decided to pick up a joint in order to cope with things when she knew damn well that that was against the rules. I mean, am I so far off to say that?
Well, and then I'm just going to throw this one in here. She self-medicated, so there's that too. You know, there's no one that recommended this. You know, she could have went to the IOC or whatever the hell it is, and you know, what can I do here? I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling sad. Is there some way, you know, if there's anything in there, you know, like to be able to talk to some kind of support instead of making that decision on her own? You know, like her whole career is on the line. You know what I mean? And that's a slip she knew that she was doing. What would happen if the drug was different? Do you know what I mean? I mean, we had one of the Olympians here that there was a problem because she had taken Tylenol at one point. I don't know if you remember that, but she was. I'll look it up because I want to find the name now. But it has something to do with taking Tylenol for pain. Like their tests are so strict, and you know this when you're going into it. Um,
While you're looking for that, I must say the flavor on this 24 karat gold is really really nice. It's more on the peppery side of things, but it's definitely it's got a like a nice zesty taste to it. So the flavor's pretty sweet so far. Mike's just looking up the athlete in question here for Tylenol, and that's another stupid thing too. Like Tylenol, really, I don't see what's so performance enhancing about it, or cannabis, but
yeah, I remember it being in the news like it was some big fucking thing. Like I'll have to look it up. And someone can lash me with it in the comments or something. But it happened. I remember, damn it. It's just there's shit so even asthma medication, like all of it, and you know this going into it, you know, and with those things when it's so strict, a lot of these athletes have events that happen to them in their lives, and they have to make that decision. And it, you know, a lot of fighters will say this in UFC. Like I don't even remember watching that thing, Ultimate Fighter and stuff. It was like they couldn't get through the fucking fight because they wanted to talk to their the house because they wanted to call their family or something. And then the ones that they had major events that happened to them, and they had the choice. It was like, well, you can leave now, or you can stay and work on your career. And those ones worked on their fucking career, and that's like a part of it. Like the sacrifices that you're made as a successful athlete. Like these events happen. Yes, they are sad. Yes, they are harsh, but you have a career and you have to decide, well, you know, is my emotion and the bad things that are happening more important than my career? And you know, like I said, I feel sorry that her mom passed, like you said, sorry, not me, I feel bad her mom passed away, but I don't feel bad about the decision she made to be where she is right now. And then the whole thing, it's like it's being on the team, it's getting on the team. We've never really had heavy media coverage over someone not being on a team, in my opinion, or at least that I've noticed.
well, no, not so much, but I mean, like, it's the circumstances around it, right? I mean, there's so many so many boxes checked on why this is a story to put out there by the news media, because they knew, especially because she's a woman of color, that it'll stir up all kinds of pot and have all people talking. And yeah, I don't see it as anything more than an individual that took a chance and took a risk and took a very risky risk, and knows very well in her said profession what the consequences of taking that risk is. And that's a thing that we need to stop excusing, because you have all these athletes and all these predominant people in Hollywood and all that. They're all coming out and saying, "Oh man, it's just a little bit of weed. You're going to ruin her whole life over just a little bit of weed." Yes, it is just a little bit of weed. Yes, it's antiquated. Yes, this shouldn't be a conversation in 2021 about cannabis. And I am a firm believer in cannabis and its medical properties and whatnot. And I'm going to go into even a little further about like athletes and cannabis use moving after once we pass this. But she knew the deal. She knew the deal. We need to stop excusing people when people know the consequences for things. Whether we think it's we can think it's stupid all day long. We can say it's stupid and we can say that it'll change, but don't just like look at the IOC and be like, "Oh man, you're not going to let her pass on this one." No, no more passes for shit, people. Know your fucking rules. Know whatever's in your profession or whatever's in your life. There's the rules of life, and follow them. And just know that when you take the chance of breaking these rules, no matter how minuscule they may be, prepare for the consequences. I do it every day. I speed down the highway every day, but I know that if I get pulled over by a cop and get issued a ticket, I assume the responsibility of that because I put myself in that risk. We can't just have people coming out, oh, he was only going 10 over. Why didn't you just let him pass? You broke the fucking law. So I see so much of this stuff for the past few days, and I just felt like it was important to just remind people that there's consequences to actions. And if you think something's outdated and whatnot, then channel your anger in a different way. This goes back to the first segment. It's just people channel their anger and shake their fists at the weirdest things, and it's just, yeah, it's interesting times. But one thing that the NFL needs to start doing. I was just watching Dark Side of Football on Vice TV. I watched the whole first season yesterday, and one of the episodes was just pain and what NFL players go through. And it's pretty well documented, the amount of pain that NFL players go through, and CTE and all these medical findings that are coming out in the world. But where sports is really falling behind is cannabis. I mean, they just got a every single sport pretty well. It's barred. I think there might be one sport. I think basketball. It might be okay. I don't remember. But either way, the big time national sports should be allowing athletes to use cannabis products and CBD for pain, because like the amount of opiates that these guys, like one NFL player was taking 50 fucking opiates a day. 50 fucking pills. Could you imagine taking 50 fucking opiates a day? Like it's so fucked up, and people are dying at a record level, and it's like we gotta relax our view on cannabis with athletes, period. Even Shakari Richardson, like really performance enhancing, I can understand why that's a piss off, because but then there's properties to cannabis where it's really like, if you smoke a really nice sativa, you could be really focused, you could be really energized. Those things can be looked at as a competitive advantage to a certain degree, but they need to relax their laws on letting athletes use these products, because it'll get them off of the junk and it'll have them have a better way of life. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Cannabis has come up with some amazing things, especially with fighting cancer cells and whatnot. I'm not in the road where it's like it's a cure for cancer, but I do believe it completely helps, and it's definitely under researched. And for athletes, like I had this stuff. It was mixed with arnica, and it was this type of this lotion you'd put on sore muscles. And holy shit, man, does that stuff work like a charm? Like, and it's weird because I don't think it's all pain companies that are trying to suppress it, but it's definitely some, you know, like it does help with a lot of shit. And because you can grow it in your fucking house, you know, there is a certain amount of people that don't want that, in my opinion. But what's great about it is the research coming out, in my opinion, and same with psilocybins and that same discussion, because now people are researching it a little bit more because it's more they're more lax on the laws with it, so to say. Like if you have some of it, you're not going to get, you know, arrested or anything. So people are able to kind of they're using psilocybins for projects in universities and just trying to learn on how it works for depression and the amount of doses for it, and LSD even. And I think marijuana is one of the stepping stones for that, the legalization of that. It kind of opened the door for people to be allowed to kind of just research other things. So not just cannabis in one needs to be researched more, but the others as well. But I do think it started with cannabis, like because it did definitely have this kind of feeling to everybody, like it was just this horrible, evil devil drug. You know what I mean? Like no one should be taking it. People just take it to get high. They don't take it to help. You know, and now people know that that's not the scene. And anyone that does, they kind of need to do a little bit of research on it. Like just people with like it starts with appetite, but there's so much more. Like you said, you could go on for a long time about the benefits of it, and the benefits outweigh any negatives, in my opinion. I get really sleepy.
Right? You know, like what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You're gonna eat too much and feel a little shitty the next day. Like, ooh, you know, better send out the fucking the army to go and get rid of this awful evil drug. Because yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, and it's been. I mean, anyone in the cannabis community can tell you that it's been one of those things that you haven't ever understood why it was ever illegal. I mean, the amount of revenue that we're bringing in as a nation now with it being legal, it's it's never really made sense to a lot of people. But hey, we're getting better, and I think what really needs to happen is America as a whole just needs to get on. They need to be United States. Yeah, the same United States that's in your fucking country name. That's what needs to happen. The whole entire country needs to legalize, because once the US legalizes, then as a whole instead of just states, it'll have a huge ripple effect on things, especially with I think Mexico's either decriminalized or they're on the verge of legalization themselves. If we can, as a whole continent, just be legalized, man, the places that we can go. And like you said, we're doing research on things like LSD on microdose levels. We're doing the same thing with ecstasy or MDMA, Molly, whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of benefits to psychedelics, and like you touched on it a little bit, pain companies and stuff like that, they're certainly threatened by it. They're very much threatened by it, but now they're just going to have to get on board with it. There's it's either you get with the times or you get left behind, because people are just too hip to the fact of pharmaceuticals are garbage for the most part. I mean, I try as much as possible to stay off pharmaceuticals. I take allergy medication, like I mentioned before, that's necessary, and I take a stomach pill every day that's necessary. But if I could find natural ways to deal with that, and I've looked and I've had no success, so I succumbed and I take the pharmaceutical. But if you really looked into the pharmaceutical industry in a whole, whew, that's a fucking rabbit hole all in itself. So
Yeah, there was one of these ones, I think it was on Netflix, where there's this pharmacist down in the States, and it was right around the OxyContin explosion, and that one's a really good one. I think it's backyard pharmacist or something, but he just ran like a mom and pop pharmacy, and he had tons of people coming in just to get OxyContin for all types of different shit, and people started dying in his community, so he started questioning things, and he kind of opened up a can of worms when it came to them selling, like pushing these pills in the community. You know, they had sales reps coming in and giving people bonuses for pushing these prescriptions. You know, they had doctors that were drug mules that were addicted to the pain pills just as much. Like, yeah, the pain medication world is definitely a wormhole. Yeah.
and it's starting to lose its they're starting to lose their place and their footprint in the world, especially with things like cannabis and the other drugs that we've mentioned and whatnot. And it's funny now because in this country we used to do a program in school called Dare, and it was like drug recognition and stuff like that, basically telling you like stay off drugs and all this stuff. But really, all it was is just like, so cannabis can make you feel okay. Good to know. Good to cocaine can really you feel that way. Oh well, I fucking better try that. And then you just start a whole fucking list of all these things you want to start trying. But the real drugs, the nastiest drugs that we sell are the legal ones, and that's tobacco and fucking opiates. It's crazy to me. It's just the more and more I think about the way we are as a society, the more and more I just don't get it. But one thing though that really I can understand, and one thing that really does make sense, and one thing that people really need to get on top of, and that's Brymax. Now we talked a little bit about Brymax last time, Mike, and I felt your excitement on the possibility of some of the products that can be used. What were some of the products that you were really, really hyped to try for yourself?
The eyelashes thing, that sounds really interesting.
Yes, the
Thing.
natural curl. Yes, yes, I know. Because when I mentioned that last time, your eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. So you know what, people? You all need to experience Brymax too. Now, Brymax was co-founded by Brittany Pierce and is a mobile beauty services company that provides professional salon or spa-like experiences, but in the comfort of your own home. Now, Brittany believes in the true and full beauty experience at a price you can afford. Now, Brymax offers services such as teeth whitening, eyebrow lamination, lash fit, body contouring slash laser lipo, and that's without even having to have any invasive surgeries. Now, Brymax uses a specifically designed laser machine that is not harmful whatsoever, and a laser machine not being of any harm. People, says it all right there. Now, seeing as this is a startup company, Brymax is offering 20% off through the month of July to all her new clients. But since Brittany's such a fan of the show, she wants to offer you listeners an additional 10% off. That's right, 30% off by using the promo code BRIMAX, BRIMAX 30, BRIMAX 30. Now, this offer is only available to residents of Southern Ontario, Canada. And to get your pricing or to book your appointment today, search Brymax Beauty on Facebook or at Brymax Beauty, BRIMAX BEAUTY on Instagram. Or you can pick up the phone and call 647 571 1305. That's Brymax Beauty, people. All right. Now we're moving on to, now that I've experienced this beautiful 24 karat gold joint, which I highly enjoyed. I definitely give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's got a very nice relaxing high that you feel from the kosher kush, but it's also got that little bit of pep and energy that you get in the tangy side from the sativa. Definitely a nice flavor, burnt really well, not overly harsh on the lungs. 8 out of 10.